Hey survivors, Black here from CasaBLACK Gaming, and I am back with another episode in this little build series going over the new additions we've made to the Hobbit Hill Kingdom large build that we're working on. Today we worked on a little addition to the past rooftop garden that we added. We also created a small outhouse, a small planter to spruce up the straight pathway running between the first two Hobbit hole entrances, and I also decided to try my hand at a larger planter slash lamppost design, not to mention sprucing up a third Hobbit hole porch and connecting it with a path and some other decor to go along with it. For those who want to see the progress as I was building, just keep watching, but for those who just want to see the day and nighttime tours, the timestamp below will take you to those, although you will be missing out on how things got built. Now regardless, we appreciate the interest in this build, and so let's go ahead and get into it. So I started out first with that flat rooftop garden. I started by adding some 1x1 bricks between the 2x2 cornerstones that are already on the roof, which was easy enough. Then it was just a matter of filling in the gardening soil. Now I'm not sure what my wife will want to plant in this, so I will leave it bare for now. Also of note, the top portion of this garden, which I did in the last video, was giving my wife some issues yesterday when she was trying to plant, and she actually wasn't able to plant anything, and it was actually removing the plants from her inventory. So we'll have to see what's going on there. I may have to readjust it a little bit, so we'll see what happens. Now next up, I decided to create an outhouse. The location was imperative as it needed to be pushed away from the main habitation area, but not too far out, and I think the other side of this garden made for a nice place, not to mention it possibly helps the fertilization in that area from a lore standpoint. Now the design is simple for now, and I plan on going in and sprucing it up with a path out there to it, maybe some more foliage around it, and definitely more lighting, because at night, as you will see at the end with the tour, it's not something you want to go out to at night. Now, in the last episode, we created this long path between the first two Hobbit hole entrances. But as I was placing the Firefly lanterns, I felt like it needed something else to kind of break up the monotony of just being a straight walkway. So I decided to try my hand at a tiny planter. Now I will say that the opening fit better having a 2x2 opening, and I think it's going to matter on which kind of plant you're using possibly as well. Now I went 2x3. Also, placing the dirt is not really a fun thing to do, and a first person view for this or a camera mode would be great. In fact, a camera mode is really needed for any game that wants to specialize in building, to be able to zoom out or also to take great screenshots. Not having a way to remove your character from the screenshots is a shame. Now, with that tiny planter out of the way, I decided for maybe a larger planter with a combined lantern post with it. From my days in Minecraft, I know that some outdoor lanterns all fancied up can really add to the look of a build, so I set out to see what I could make. Now I first tried my hand at coming in one block from the 4x4 block's outer edge that I placed, but it didn't really offer up a lot of room for the dirt. So after a few minutes of it not working, I changed tactics and put the lower walls all the way out on the outside of the 4x4 floor, and this made it work to what I liked. Now one thing I do like that Minecraft has is a way to go smaller than a 1x1 block with their fence posts, so you can have a pole-like structure that drops down in size just below the 1x1. And I would love a metal rod or something we could craft in Enshrouded to help with this for our builds. But I made it work, I think, and have more plans to add variations on this. In the end, I was happy with the outcome, and the plants looked great when all grown, which you're going to see at the end of the tour. Now for the next part, it was time to get our third Hobbit entrance up to snuff, so we could then connect it to the ongoing pathway, so that's what I did. I started with a ceiling and decided to use the palm wood that I use for a lot of the interior. Now it's my favorite wood design, and I wanted it to be the first bit of wood you see from the exterior. I liked how the left side of the entrance had a dirt mound, so I left that, and I decided to use the tarred single roof pieces and make them go into the ground next to the doorway. I then placed some pillars on the porch. and then connected them with rails, all using that same palm wood. I knew it was then time to add some dirt and grass back to the roof overhang, so I worked on adding bits here and there, trying to make it look uniform and natural. Now, in the end, it's not exactly what I want, and I might either take away some dirt or might add some decor later, so that is a problem for another time, but overall I felt it was good for now, and I could start adding the pathway to connect it. But as I began getting the land ready by flattening it down a little, I noticed a huge gap under the roof I had just placed, so I went ahead and filled that with dirt. Now, remember it's okay if you add too much dirt because you can always just take some of it away later and really fine tune that with the 1x1 terrain removal block if needed. So with the gap filled, I decided to put a small area down for plants to kind of take away from the distraction of the imperfect terraforming right there. Now this build, as I mentioned in my first video, is meant to not be perfect as these homes are built into the land and of the land, so they need to have that imperfect vibe, which is fine, but sometimes things are just a little annoying and you want to fix them. The little garden plot is simple enough, and I only spent extra time with it trying to get some of the tiny grass parts out of the corner so the plants would have room to grow. I then next started laying out the actual dirt path. Now on a mostly straight and level surface, the pathing does great and is not hard to place at all. I also used the disc shape to remove some of the hillside to make sure my path felt wide enough in some areas. I was also starting to consider how the path would go on to the next hole, which is around the corner on the side of the mound, but I'm going to talk more on that later. I brought the short path wall on down from the last connection, which was easy and really makes the pathway pop. I lined up the stones to make sure they come off the little garden area nicely and evenly with that other side. I then began the early stages of bringing the pathway down the hill a little bit, but most of that work will come later when I expand it around to the side, but for now, it's a nice start and something to grow from. Now, despite there being a garden plot on the corner, I decided that this corner also needed some lighting. I thought about doing another lamppost with some bronze torches hanging on the sides, but instead decided to go for more of a lamppost with little shelves sticking out in two directions. Honestly, in this part of the map, bronze is not something you can get regularly, so I thought I would use that sparingly and keep going with the firefly lights as much as I can. I used the refined wood block for this instead since this was not connected directly to the house, and the refined wood block is probably my next favorite wood, and I think it worked really well in the end and the lights looked great on it. I didn't even mind only having 3 small little spots to plant flowers in, and I think it worked out really well. Now with the plants all planted and as nighttime hit, I had one last little idea I wanted to try, and that was adding possibly another open front planter. I really didn't have much room, and once I had it built and tried adding soil, I quickly saw it was not going to work as is. So I decided to instead just make it a little refuse or composting area, or maybe some other supplies. I liked that it added more clutter to the area and used up more space, and it just kind of went with everything. I made a couple of barrels and wood crates and a ladder to try and add a little bit more clutter to the scene. Overall, it was a good day of building, and the landscaping on this Hobbit Hill Kingdom build is really coming along. Anyway, here's the tours, both day and night. Anyway, that's all for this Hobbit Hill Kingdom build video. If you like what you've seen and would like to see more of this massive Hobbit style build, then give us a sub, like, and a comment below. Now the next video will see us tackling some major terraforming to make our corner pathway meet up nicely, and might even lead to some new Hobbit hole additions, we'll see. Now if you have any questions about anything in this video or how something was done, then put that down below as well. Anyway, I've been Black, and I will see you in the next video, and remember to stay positive out there.